Dear brothers and sisters, in the 1990s, there came out a movie entitled Dead Man Walking. It is the true story of a young man who was convicted of a double murder, of having murdered two youngsters who were sweethearts. And for this, he was condemned to a death sentence. And there was a religious sister by the name of Sister Helen Prejean, who was an activist, one who was an advocate against capital punishment. And so she went to get to know who this young man was. And eventually she became the spiritual director just in the very limited days that he has before he would be condemned to death. And at the same time, she also reached out to the victims, to the parents of the victims, and learned their stories. In short, she ended up with her friendship, with her compassion. She managed to make this young man own the part of his crime, of the murder, to be sorry and ask forgiveness from the parents of the victims. For what she had done, however, she was not praised, but in fact, she was even despised, even by the very parents of the victims, who were fervent churchgoers of their own churches. They looked at her as somebody who was condoning the crime. Jesus in today's gospel suffers the same fate as Sister Helen. He was looked down upon by the virtuous people of his times, the scribes and Pharisees. Why? Because they accused him of being a friend of prostitutes, a friend of public sinners. And for this reason, he was avoided by the religious people and criticized by them. But Jesus defends himself by saying, precisely, I proactively search for the sinners who are marginalized in society, because it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but those who are sick. We ask, who among us here right now is a saint? Who among us right now is not a sinner? We profess to belong to the Catholic Church, but what is the Church? Is the Church an exclusive club of saints? Or is it an inclusive school for sinners? Sinners who humbly acknowledge their need for conversion and God's grace. Sinners who strive to live up to their human dignity as being children of God, disciples of Jesus, and experiencing God's love. We progressively realize that we are capable also of loving God back and loving our others, our fellow sinners, in return.